Today's lesson is lesson 1-4, and as you can tell by the title, this is where we will be writing linear equations. So there are two goals for this lesson. I want you to be able to write an equation of a line, and for us that's going to be slope-intercept form. Write an equation of a line given the slope of the line and one of the points. Or I want you to be able to write an equation of a line parallel or perpendicular to a given line. And I guess we could add to this, in some cases we're going to be giving you 2 points on a line and you won't be given slope, but we'll look at some examples. But this lesson is all about taking information about a line and coming up with the equation for that line in slope-intercept form. So let's get started on some examples. My first example involves being given the slope of a line and being given one of the points on the line. So it's worded as the line passes through this given point and it has a slope as shown here as 4/3. Well, first of all, I'm going to make things a little simpler. Maybe you're used to something a little different. We all have our Algebra 1 experiences that could be a little different. But to keep things simple, I'm going to work everything around slope-intercept form. If you were to look at your textbook and read through the chapter, they teach using point-slope form. I'll write it up here in case you're wondering. Here is point-slope form. You probably saw that in Algebra 1. But as far as I'm concerned, if we can just use one equation form to do every single type of these problems, that's a little bit easier, and then we don't have to remember, okay, do I use point slope or do I use slope intercept? Now, I will say this, if you're already used to using this and you would like to keep using this, then by all means, I do want you to just write down what I'm doing, and maybe after seeing it, you would decide, hey, I'm going to make the switch. But when I teach doing this process, writing these linear equations, since our answer has to be in slope-intercept form anyway, I'm going to start with slope-intercept form. So I will not be using point-slope. After seeing this, if you want to go back and do what's familiar to you, if that means getting it right on a test or quiz, then by all means go ahead. Okay, so here's how I'm going to use slope-intercept form to do this problem. Remember that slope is designated with the letter M, and if I'm given a point on the line, that means, remember, in ordered pair form, this first number is x and this second number is a y coordinate. So let's plug in these numbers into this equation form. Y is 4, M is 4/3, x is 0. The only variable in this equation that I don't have a number to substitute for is b, the y-intercept. So I'm going to solve for the y-intercept on this line. So simplifying, I get 4 equals 0. 4/3 times 0 is 0, plus b. Well, obviously 0 plus b is just b. So our y-intercept that we did not know originally, it's not given to us, we discovered that the y-intercept for this line is 4. So now we can write the equation, knowing the slope is 4/3 and knowing now that the y-intercept is 4. My final answer is y equals 4/3 x plus 4. And that would be it. Okay, and that's how we get that answer using slope-intercept form. Okay, let's try one more of these. Again, I'm going to start with slope-intercept. Start and end with slope-intercept. So again, if you want to label, here's x, here's y, here's m. So let's plug in. -2 is equal to the slope, which is given, -3/5, times x, which is 5, plus b. Okay, so let's go ahead and simplify. Do the multiplication. Negative 3/5 times 5 is just negative 3 plus b. If you think of it as negative 15/5. Okay, solving for b means I'm going to add 3 to both sides of this equation. And when I do that, add 3 to both sides, I'll show it here, I get b is 1. Okay, I'm given the slope, I found the y-intercept, let's put it all together in slope-intercept form. Y equals negative 3/5 x, replace the m, plus b, which is 1. Replace the m, replace the b, and you've got your answer. So that's our answer for letter B. Okay, then we're going to move on to a block of problems where the information that we're given is a little different, a little more challenging, not much. Instead of giving you the slope, they're going to tell you 2 points on the line, so you're going to have to come up with the slope. Well, that's going back to what we just covered, finding the slope of a line or the rate of change, average rate of change of a line. So in case you forgot, that means we're going to use our slope formula. And so let's plug in y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Simplify, negative 12. And down here we get negative 6 plus 9, which is 3. So the slope is negative 4. Okay, now at this point, I'm still, remember, every single one of my problems, I'm starting with the same equation form, which is slope-intercept. That just, to me, keeps it simple. I don't have to work with 2 different equations. So at this point, I get to pick. It really doesn't matter which of these points you choose to plug in for x and y. Doesn't matter. You'll get the same answer regardless. There's 2 different pairs of ordered points, ordered pairs, and I've labeled them for you. You pick. I'm just going to go with the first one. Doesn't really matter. So in plugging into slope-intercept form, I'm going to replace y, since I'm choosing this point, set of ordered pairs. I'm going to replace y with 11. M was found as negative 4. And I'm going to replace x from that same ordered pair with negative 9. And I'm going to use those numbers to find out what the y-intercept is. So 11 is equal to 36 plus b. Subtracting 36 from both sides, negative 25 is the b. Okay? I found the slope. I've now found the y-intercept. Here's my answer, putting those 2 in the slope-intercept form. Y equals negative 4x minus 25. Okay, very good. Let's try another one of those. Once again, when you're not given the slope, you're going to have to find the slope using the slope formula. 10 minus negative 6 divided by negative 4 minus 0. 16 divided by negative 4 is negative 4. Okay, let's go to y equals mx plus b and pick. Since I picked the first one last time, I'm just going to pick the second one this time. Okay, there's x, there's y. So let's replace y with 10. M is negative 4. X, also negative 4. Use those numbers to solve for the y-intercept. 10 equals 16 plus b. Looks like b is going to be negative 6. Subtract 16 from both sides. Alright, with b negative 6 and m negative 4, we can write our equation. Y equals mx plus b. Now if you put plus negative 6, that would be okay. I'm just going to show it as minus 6. Almost looks like a b. That's a 6. Okay, so far so good, and we're almost done. Example 3, these are the ones that typically give people a little trouble. Just look at how the information is given to us a little bit differently. We know a point that the line goes through, so I can go ahead and label x, y. I know I'm going to be plugging into y equals mx plus b. What does this tell me? I know that this particular line not only goes through this given point, but it's parallel to another line that's given. So we got to remember from our Algebra 1 days what is true about two lines that are parallel. Okay, and I'm sure you remember this. Two lines that are parallel have the same slope. Okay, same rate of change. This line, if it had a slope of 6, this line would also have a slope of 6 if they truly are parallel. Okay, very important. Okay, so the reason for giving you this equation, in addition to saying that these two lines are parallel, is so if we know the slope of this line, which should be easy to see because it's in slope-intercept form, the slope is 7/8. Well, if this line that's given has a slope of 7/8, then the line that's parallel to it also has a slope of 7/8. Alright, so we're going to be writing an equation for a different line. So a lot of people get confused and they start using other information from this given equation besides the slope. There is nothing else in this given equation that you need. Okay, all you do if you're writing the equation for a line that's parallel to a given equation, take the slope of that equation, use that number for your m. Okay, and then use the given point to replace y, -10, and x, in this case is 4. So sometimes I encourage people, once you've determined what slope to use in your new equation, then mark this out, because as long as I've been doing this, I see people that for some reason they want to use the b in this new equation. Well, two lines that are parallel, yes, they do have the same slope, but if they're truly parallel, they're going to have different y-intercepts. So you definitely don't want to use the y-intercept from this line because this one has to be a different number. Okay, so that may not be a problem for you, but I know it is a problem for some. I've noticed that over the years. So let's simplify this. -10 is equal to 28/8 plus b. I just wanted you to see how I got that. 4 times 7 is 28/8. And now let's reduce it. We can divide 4 into both of these. 4 goes into 28 7 times. And 4 goes into 8, of course, 2 times. Okay, well, we're solving for b. It would be nice if this had the same denominator as this. If two fractions have the same denominator, then they're easy to add or subtract. Well, unfortunately, these don't have the same denominator, but hopefully it's pretty simple to see how we're going to change -10 so that it has a denominator of 2. And that would just be -20/2. It still equals -10, but now it's a fraction that has the same denominator as 7/2. So I'm just going to change my number -10 to -20/2. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. And now I'm going to solve for b, subtract 7/2 from both sides. I'll just show it like this. Okay, I subtracted 7/2 from itself and got b, 0 plus b. Now put these together and you get -27/2 is equal to b. Okay, so now we're ready to write our final answer. Our final answer, remember, is going to be an equation, and I want all of your answers to be in slope-intercept form. No need to write that again, I guess. Here it is. Okay, well, now that I know what I found out what m is by looking at this equation, y equals 7/8 x, and now we just discovered what b is, negative 27 halves. And that would be the final answer for this problem, letter A. Okay, well, let's take a look at the other case, and that is, what does it mean when two lines, as far as the slope is concerned, what does it mean when two lines are perpendicular? Okay, just a little picture. We're going to show that these are perpendicular, even though they may not look it, by this little symbol. Well, two lines that are perpendicular, of course, they form a right angle at their point of intersection. But as far as slopes are concerned, let's just take, for example, this particular line that I'm going to call line 1. If that line had a slope of -2, then this line that I'm going to call line 2, that makes it perpendicular, would have to have a slope of a positive 1/2. Okay, probably makes sense. See how this has a negative slope? I just made up a number. If this line had a slope of -2, then this line would have to be the opposite reciprocal of -2. And you see how it has to have a positive slope. It's going up from left to right. So that's the key about perpendicular lines. Their slopes are two things: opposite reciprocals of each other. Opposite reciprocals of each other. Okay, one more quick illustration. If I know a line has a slope of -3/5, then the line that's perpendicular to it would have to have a slope of positive 5/3. Okay, not only are they opposites, change the sign, but they're also reciprocals. So you got to do both. Okay, so back to this problem, letter B. We're given a point, we're given an equation of a line perpendicular to this unknown line that we're supposed to write the equation for. Well, the slope of this line that I'm given is -5/3. Well, if the line perpendicular to it, then if they are truly perpendicular, then it would have to have a slope of positive 3/5. Notice it's the opposite reciprocal. Okay, and now we're back to what we were doing before, and I'm done with this. All right, get that equation. Once you've determined the slope that you need to write this new equation, don't gather any other piece of information. Do not take the y-intercept and plug it into anything in this new equation. All you need is the number to use for slope, and we've figured that out. And now we're going to plug into y equals mx plus b. Okay? Using this given point, y equals m x, and we're going to find b. -3 is equal to -27/5. Okay, we're back to this same issue we had before. Let's just convert this into fifths so we can put these together. Hopefully you see that -3 is really -15/5. So instead of showing it as -3, I'm going to show it as the equivalent, sorry, not thirds, but fifths. Okay, still equals -3, but now they have matching denominators, and so now I'm going to add 27/5 to both sides, and -15/5 plus 27/5 gives me 12/5. Okay, we found the y-intercept, we found the slope right off the bat. Let's write our equation. Y equals 3/5, that's the slope, x plus the y-intercept, 12/5. Okay, I'm almost done. I just want to run through one more of each of these just to make sure. Remember that two lines that are parallel have the same slope. This line has a slope of 3/4, so my line that's parallel to this also has a slope of 3/4. So we're going to plug into y equals mx plus b. I'm finished with this equation. Done. Okay, let's plug in x, y is 7, m is 3/4, x is 3. We're going to solve for b. 7 equals 9/4 plus b. Change 7 into fourths, a fraction that still equals 7 but has a denominator of 4 would be 28/4. Now I can subtract and put these together, and 28 minus 9 is 19/4. Okay, we found the y-intercept. We already knew the slope. Put them together. Y equals m x plus b. And that's the answer for number 3C. Last one. Okay, what does it mean for two lines to be perpendicular? They have opposite reciprocal slopes. This line that I'm given has a slope of -5. The line perpendicular to it has a slope of positive 1/5. Okay, done with this. Don't need anything else. Here's x, here's y. Let's plug in. Y equals m x. Solve for b. -2 is equal to 3/5 plus b. All right, same little exercise. -2 as a fraction with a denominator of 5 will be -10/5. If you can tell, all I'm doing really is multiplying. To get the numerator, I'm doing 5 times -2. -10/5. Subtract 3. -10 minus 3, -13/5 is -13/5 is our y-intercept. Okay, so with the slope that we determined, with this y-intercept, here's your equation. Y equals m x plus negative or minus b. And that is it. And that's what we're going to be doing on your assignment. So if you watch this and you still have questions, just let me know.